across Canada, and we're well represented. So excited for this next panel. So it's my pleasure to be introducing our panelists today, and I'm just going to grab my notes. I've had them scattered here, so just give me one moment. Okay, so I'm going to first introduce Nicole Kyle. She is a storyteller and gender equity advocate and LinkedIn top voice gender equity. I know that we were fellow. It's been a whole year and we were on the same list across North America. So it's really great to finally meet you in person. I've been wanting to include you on a panel for the past year. So it's great to have you join us today, Nicole. I'll just have you just do a brief introduction and a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Monica, and hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you to the fellow panelists here. Super excited and happy IWD. So as Monica said, I'm a gender equity advocate. I write, create, mostly on LinkedIn, but elsewhere too, on gender equity with a particular focus on closing the gender wealth gap. I take kind of a new age approach, looking at how new economies, the blockchain economy, the creator economy, how that is affecting women in historically excluded communities. So yeah, really excited to dig in today, talk leadership, talk wealth gap, whatever we want to get into. Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nicole. Next up, I'd like to introduce Pandemi Navlin, who has 23 years of experience in the SW development for automotive sector. So a highly underrepresented industry again for women, and Pandemi is joining us from India. So would you like to welcome yourself and a few words to introduce yourself to the rest of our guests?
Sure. Thank you, Monica, for creating such a great platform for us to represent on this day. Yeah, I'm from India, and of course, we do see that automotive sector has few of the female leaders around there. But yeah, happy to share that in the software domain for automotive, we have achieved whatever we wanted to be as a representative for the women folk here. So happy to share the positive side of we being at equal on par with whatever we have as a support here. Yeah, looking forward to have a great conversation.
Thank you so much, Pandemi. Next, I'd like to introduce Unstoppable Tracy. She's been manning and working the chat box for us. Thank you so much, Tracy. You've also been a very instrumental part of the Universal Women's Network as a 2019 Woman of Inspiration Award recipient, as a change agent that year. And you're also in the Woman of Inspiration, Woman Driving Change book. And we've had you on multiple panels and really, you've been such a big advocate for the Universal Women's Network, Tracy. So thank you so much for joining us. Tracy is a motivational speaker and expert on disarming limiting beliefs. So Tracy, I'll have you introduce yourself.
Monica, thank you. So proud to be part of the Universal Women's Network, and how fun that the only girl without hands is the one typing away, and that this is International Women's Day, busting those barriers and those limits of who we think is meant to be in a certain role. You know, I got to support Air Canada with bankruptcy, Canadian Airlines with mergers, busting Uber into Canada, Shoppers Drug Mart when there was pharmaceutical reform, and now 100 million viral views with a little story about nobody left behind. And I am so proud to be a woman, one woman out of 30 men, and to be on the World Cup sailor start line with arms and legs and male dominated, and that I get to be here today with all of you, true magical difference makers, ready to shift the drift. Let's make a change.
We are so thrilled, honored to have you. Thank you so much, Tracy. We're glad to have your perspective today. And lastly, Evangeline Chima is the founder and executive director of the Black Mentorship, Inc. She's also a 2020 Woman of Inspiration Black Leader Award recipient. Welcome, Evangeline. I'll have you do an introduction.
Thank you so much, Monica. Hi, everybody. Oh my God, Tracy, your powerhouse, your voice is like, oh my God, you get all this energy out from me. But yes, thank you for this great opportunity. Recognizing the achievements of women, Monica, the work that you do, it is so important. As Monica said, my name is Evangeline Chima, and I'm joining you from Oakville, Ontario. the lands of the Anashibe, the Atawandron, Hanisyan. I am so grateful to all of the indigenous women who paved the way and made it possible that I sit here in this land, and that I'm thriving with my family. When I kept getting rejections upon rejections and being overlooked for leadership positions, I started thinking that I was the problem. With each rejection, I looked at what could I have done better? What could I have done better? And from there, I started looking to see who looks like me, that I can go to and say, hey, can you mentor me? Can you support me? Can you show me the way? And that's when it became very clear that really there wasn't a lot of women in top management, and then of course none that looks like me. And so that's how Black Mentorship Inc. was created. And that's what we're doing, providing mentors and supporting women, to be limitless, like somebody said when I was in the other breakout room. So I'm really honored and excited to be here with powerhouse like all of you. Let's make that change.
Well, I'm going to jump right in. Thank you. We're happy to have your voice represented. Thank you for, representing the voice of the Indigenous women as well. Very important, Evangeline. So again, United Nations on the Sustainability Development Goals says it will take 286 years to close the global gender gap. And so this is why this conversation is so important, is to ensure that women's representation and our voices are heard where every level or whether opportunity where decisions are being made. And so I'm going to open up the question here. Why is it so important today and every day for women to be celebrated, to be visible leaders within in a role model position? Tracy.
I love that your last words were today and every day. International Women's Day is the day to open up our eyes that we get to be nothing about us without us. Mm-hmm. That's sort of a tagline in the world of people with disabilities when you want to create change or support or be advocates or allies, is not to do for us, but instead invite us and include in the conversations and the solutions. And this is true in the world of gender equity, of International Women's Day, and all groups with some disparity. And so it's so important that we create a day that raises awareness that we need it every day. And I feel it's particularly important because after the past several years with COVID, my lived experience is that the world has gone backwards. Not backwards in 3 years, but backwards in generations. And so if it's 286 years to close the gap, well, now for me, it feels like 306 years. We get to expedite those 300 years after the gaps that have been firmly reestablished because of isolation and people's minds going backwards in time because of their fear and their anxiety of the unknown. And today gets to remind people what's known.
And I think that's a really important message for as far backward as we have gone. It's the realization. I can speak from experience, and I just want to share that when I started doing International Women's Day events, people were actually asking me, what day is it? What day is International Women's Day? So I can say without a doubt, for as much as we've gone backwards, in other areas we've gone forward, where I've seen this day being very marked, but I can say without a doubt, there was a good couple of years. It wasn't until I saw the shift change in about 2018. That was the year. Was 2018, where really people started paying attention to International Women's Day and making it a big deal. Before then, people were like, what? What day is that? It was crazy. So I just want to say there is progress and we're moving forward, and this is why we're having it today, the conversation. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go down to Nicole. Why is it so important to be celebrating women today and every day?
Today and every day, yeah, I want to echo that point, Monica and Tracy. It's I think for all of us who are fighting for gender equity every day is IWD, and we need to make that the norm. I think I totally agree with the comments on COVID and some of the progress we've seen as a result of it, but also maybe some of the progress actually hindering real progress. So for example, I love to talk about like the normalization of flexible working and remote working. I think for many organizations and structures, businesses, what have you, it's almost become a cop-out to say, hey, we have flexible working now. The workplace is equal for working moms and parents and everyone caring for older relatives, whatever that is. And that's not enough. We need to constantly scrutinize and be critical of systems, even if it's a new one, like a remote working environment, to make sure that there is not just equality, everyone has access to remote work, but equity within it. We are making adjustments to level the playing field. So I think that's really critical. And the other thing I'd say is, we all probably talk a lot about this, but it's very hard to be what you cannot see. And I saw a stat recently that it's still only 35% of global management roles are held by women. That's and then it's even fewer when you start to look into disparities by race and other demographics. So we need to keep fighting to make workplaces, leadership roles more representative of the world that we live in, so that younger generations can feel confident they can be what they can see.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Nicole. Evangeline.
I'm like, where is the mute button? Oh, well, Tracy and Nicole, you couldn't be more right. And yet, Nicole, you're right. I was going to also quote Laura Lippman. We cannot imagine what we definitely cannot see. That's so true, right? Because you see, I just talked about not seeing anybody that looked like me, right? And even though I didn't have anybody that looked like me, what kept me going was the fact that I had strong women around me, strong women who poured in me, who educated me through practical experiences that they had, right? This is why, I believe so much in the work that we're doing in Black Mentorship Inc., because oftentimes we see education as going to universities, we see education as reading books, but it's bigger than that, right? All of us here, there are people looking at us, there are people that see us as their role models. I am a product of role models, and I'm sure we are all products of role models, right? I watched my mom fell, rise again. And if you can indulge me, I remember a time, it was a particular year for my mom. She lost her sister-in-law, lost her nephew, her business and her goods were demolished, in fire. My mom cried and crashed, right? And so I was watching her. And then little by little, she started getting up, she started getting herself together, putting the business back and reaching out to support her brother and her nieces and nephews, right? And that experience shaped me. And when I feel the world is crashing in on me, I remember how my mom fought and came back up and actually rose higher than she was doing before in her business. So that is why it's so important that, we women, we're up there so that people that look up to us can believe in themselves and can see themselves in those roles that they are aspiring to be.
Beautiful. And it's true. It's like and here's the stat that was a KPMG study on leadership. 86% of women reported that when they see women in leadership roles, they can aspire to be there themselves. But this is what we need to do, is we need to talk about owning your worth and really going after and being okay with standing in the spotlight. It's okay. It's not ego. We're doing it for a purpose where we're paving the way for others to follow. And I think that what I see right now is still so much of a barrier. It's a retrain of thinking that needs to happen where it's like, no, you actually in a leadership role, it is your responsibility to pave that forward and to step into that spotlight. So anyways, I love all of these conversations, and really surround yourself with leaders that are, inspiring change, right? Make ourselves better ourselves. Pandini, I just want to say welcome. Why is it so important for you today and every day to celebrate the achievements of women?
Yeah, thanks, Monica. And for me, everyday celebration is essential because it gives me visibility. And as you rightly pointed out, it need not have to be only for self-promotion. What I look forward is to show the world that there has been an action which has made an impact. So that's where I look forward for to celebrate it every day. And as my esteemed panelist also mentioned, that it is, let it be a symbolic and let it be a past that we do it for one day, but rather do it every day and day, so that we inspire somebody by our journey, so that they do it for their fullest potential. So they look into our journey and say, hey, when Padmini can, when why can't I? So with that fullest potential, they will also be able to do it. So I see that a new norm would be that we do the celebration every day.
Beautiful. Well, I think we're in agreement on that one, that every day this needs to happen. So we will keep moving forward with that. We're going to jump right into our first question, and I'm going to start with the embracing equality question. Now, you're all in a leadership role where you're using your voice to advocate for a better tomorrow. So what has influenced your thinking around embracing equality and motivated you to be such a strong voice and advocate for change, Tracy?
It started very young. My first day of school, being told, no, you can't go. And then people are like, what? And instead, mom wasn't mama bear. She very kindly said, how come? And so I invite all of us to ask, how come? Kindly, openly, non-judgmentally, not why, because why is a trigger word. And so she asked that principal, how come? And she was able to hear he was worried about being stuck with me. So she created a space. She sourced an opportunity that opened a door for a little short term that I could demonstrate I belonged. And it turns out I was one and only one with no hands to be able to tie the shoelaces of my 30 classmates. So how come the only student with no hands was the only student required, male or female, or them, required to be able to tie their shoelace? And so sometimes it makes sense. And it turns out not only pave the way, and we've got a responsibility to pave the way, but we've got a responsibility, whether someone's before us or not, just to believe that I was a valuable contributor in 1970 when children with disabilities belonged in a segregated school. And it turns out I was the only one that could tie my shoelaces for 30 classmates. And so we all belong. We are all shoelace leaders, whether we are Black or white, male or female, or them, lesbian, bi, gay, trans, queer, plus, young or old, tall or small, visible disability, no disability, invisible disability. We are all valuable contributors. And I got to learn that at 5 years old, the first day of school. And here we are, 2023, still figuring it out.
You know, Tracy, I often think of the roads, the two roads that we have the opportunity to take. You either take the road and you make it work, or you stand still and do nothing. And I am so inspired by the women that choose that first road and go, I don't know what's beyond that second turn, but I'm willing to give it a shot. And it's because of women like yourself that enable others to come forward. So super brilliant. I know about your stories, and we're going to come back and learn more. I'm going to go to Nicole. So, what was that for you? Embracing equality. What was that aha moment that you just said, I need to sort of commit to making this change and have my voice heard?
Yes, yes. So there's the Gloria Steinem quote, the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. And I'll be honest, I spent a lot of years in my 20s pissed off because, speaking for myself, it did take personal experience to really ignite and that fire and that trigger, that anger that I ultimately use for good. Personal experience of entering the working world, leaving the bubble of my university, which was very imperfect, but for various reasons, kind of had the guise of a meritocracy and the guise of being more fair. But I entered the working world and I, was an entry-level analyst, sure, fine. And I was the only woman in meetings for months on end. I saw no other woman in a meeting with me. And it fueled, that it was an ember on that anger fire. and then the embers got bigger as I started, doing some inner work that I think a lot of us do in our 20s, thinking about, our where we come from and how that influenced us and our decisions. I started to actually see how traditional gender roles and toxic masculinity and limitations around femininity actually influence my parental and family dynamic in a really unhealthy way that actually negatively impacted me and those I loved. So, that added another ember to the anger fire. And then I started to see these amazing, powerful, brilliant, smart women in my life who I'm so close to be held back, second guessing themselves, dealing with imposter syndrome, more embers on the anger fire. And then one day I was like, hey, this fire is burning and I'm going to use it to heat up some change. So that's, that personal experience really did fuel me and just using that as a starting point to really devote myself to this work and being a small part of the change I want to see, so that others don't have to feel that in the future.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And really, it is everyone's role to champion for women. So we could not talk about that enough, that everybody takes that initiative to do their own part. We are going to change that 286 years to, in our lifetime with any hope. Evangeline, so I'm going to repeat the question. What has influenced your way of thinking to embrace equality and motivated you to be an advocate for change?
Monica, I'm no different from the other great ladies that just spoke. Personal experience, and it's so amazing how positive personal experience can fuel us. Negative personal experience can also drive us, right? And for me, growing up, I had a lot of positive experiences. I just put in the chat, my dad was amputated, right? And growing up, I didn't realize my dad had only one leg. He had his issues and he had his walking cane. And so everybody, even my friends these days, because now I speak up and I talk about it and I share, and people go, really? We thought your dad, that was like a prestige thing. They didn't know he had one leg. And so with that, seeing my dad get up every day, it doesn't matter the pain. Sometimes he comes home, my mom will rub whatever that she needed to rub to get him to be okay. The next day, he was getting up, he was smiling, he was moving. Okay, that was something to witness as a kid. And then I look at the other angle too. When we were growing up, when we were given a task to do, it didn't matter how huge this task is. When you come to my mom or even school, she would never say, okay, stop doing this and take this one. She would say, in our language, Jishikewam, which means try, my child, try, my daughter, try, my son. And once she says that, we tried. And when we tried, we won. And then you get excited. And so fast forward, when I started getting all the rejections, initially I didn't get it. And, so I kept trying. I didn't quit. I kept trying. And even when I felt, okay, done, I didn't still quit. I started BMI, right? And I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. But I'm trying. I just believe that we just need to try, put that step in front and keep going, and that's what keeps me going. That's what's fueling me, telling myself that if I try, that I will get away. And I'm still trying.
Beautiful. We're all on this beautiful journey together, trying to live out our own personal dreams and fulfillment, and hopefully inspire some people along the way. So thank you so much, Evangeline. Pandemi, I would love to hear from you, and I know that your voice, which is representing many. Did you ever? And I want to shift this a little bit for you. So not what inspired you, but did you realize that you have a voice that is going to really inspire change for many?
Yeah, thanks, Monica, for that question. I firmly believe that my voice in terms of actions have already impacted many of them here. Basically, what I see is that I look forward for creating a level playing ground for an individual, be it of any gender or any other community that we are looking forward for. So how do I enable that? Is I look out for creating a platform where each as an individual we are able to contribute for a small change that we can make as an impact. Because my firm belief or my mantra is that we are all, after all, a human race on this world, and we have the blue pair, that what the doctor mentioned about, where we are living across. So why fight against, but let's fight together to make this place a beautiful place and hand over this planet to our future generation in a much beautiful way than what we have been handed over. So I look forward for creating a small impact, which is to have a formal sort of a platform where people can come down, voice out their opinion. I look forward for healthy debates and discussion, because that is where we understand each other's perspective and take it forward. So that's my little take on the voice that I can make a ripple effect.
Thank you so much, Pandemi. This is a perfect segue to go into our second topic, which is allyship and the role that men play to support her. So again, 96% of organizations see progress when men are included in championing for women. 30% of organizations where allies are not engaged, they just don't have that success. And so we really want to work forward. So we invite men to the conversation. But I want to hear from you, Tracy, in your own personal experience. How has allyship supported you? I know we have some of the similar mentors in our network, but how important has that played out in helping you succeed? And what opportunities do you think there are for men that are listening to play a bigger role?
When I showed up at the start line in Melbourne, Australia, it was an Olympic class qualifier, and I'm a Paralympic trialist, but I went to the Olympic qualifiers, and there were 27 able-bodied men, and they were Australian, New Zealand, German, Scandinavian, Norwegian. They were all from countries that were Germanic and Viking. They were blonde and big muscles and over 6 feet tall. And when they saw me, their first impression was to boycott me. And I got to get in my head and realize, they've been 12 years or more giving up family, relationships, birthdays, holidays, in order to be on that start line for the Olympic qualifiers for them and their country, not just themselves. And I did the how come? And it was because the boat was one class design. And their impression was, this is serious business. We get to qualify our country. And this is not a nice try it day for somebody with a disability, right? And so where I got a lens to, the insight was, if we're not visibly there, they're not seeing visibly capable. And so I tore off the duct tape and I pulled out the pool noodles that were the one class design differences that I had done to adapt my boat. and I sailed it exactly like them. And even if I was 30 out of 30, I would have been 30 out of 30 in the world, male, female, black, white, with a disability, without a disability, lesbian, bi, gay, trans, queer, plus, would have been 30th in the world. And I wasn't. I came 7th. And 27 men and all 30 others had their arms and their legs.
Mm.
And what happened that day was this shift. And it was 5 days of races. But what happened that morning, Monday morning, after they saw me on that start line, was the very first time that they stopped and never again underestimated me. And they played hard with me on that start line, just like they did with all the other men. And forevermore, they were allies. Forevermore, every other regatta, like 2016 Rio, the 134 races I was in, were impacted by men that were there on that start line with me.
Mm.
And so we get to bring men who are our allies, men that have the light bulb, men that have powerful women in their life, that they get it. Because we get to be our own voice. We get to be our own advocates.
Mm.
And when you bring men into the conversation, if we want 286 years to disappear quick, then we get to bring in respected voices that also get to say, respect her. Because and I'm really open to feedback from folks that are like Nicole's, a gender equality specialist. Like, am I being old fashioned here and saying men have the ear, so let's invite them because they have the ear and they will expedite the timeline? Because I also believe powerfully, I was my own voice that day. And by being there, I created 30 more voices that created 600 more voices that created over 100 million voices that it snowballed to.
Beautiful. Nicole, I'm going to have you lead up after Tracy's conversation. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Monica. No, Tracy, I think you're spot on to the point of change will only be accelerated the more allies and the more people who are called to the cause, like you are, you're on it. I think to add to that, and for any men listening, and honestly for any allies to any other communities listening, like the mark of effective allies is listening, decentering yourself, asking open-ended questions to learn if that privilege is made available to you, and then doing the work to educate other men. And if you're a white woman, doing work to educate other white women on how like women of color are discriminated against and the structural inequalities, right? Like those marks of allyship, I think, are transferable across a lot of these different cases. So yeah, that allyship is about doing the work, listening and learning, and then going out and recruiting more allies and not putting that burden on the community that is facing the pain of the structural inequality, I suppose to say. The other thing I'd add, for anyone else listening on the call who works with men or works with people who want to be allies to the call, it's different for everyone, but I've started just finding teaching moments even when someone's not asking for that, right? So if I see something that's wrong, or a male colleague inadvertently, benevolently, whatever way you want to say it, made someone feel excluded in a appropriate setting, I'm going to point that out to them. They haven't asked me, oh, was I treating everyone equally? But I'm still taking that moment to point it out to them, and I'm in a really privileged position to be able to do that and not feel repercussions. So if you share in that in that experience, finding those teaching moments, even if you're not being asked to teach, I think is one way to just, hey, I'm going to shine a light on this and just point out when this isn't working, so we can all learn together and change for a positive.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Nicole. Evangeline.
So we've been all talking about women being role models. The same is true for men. If we must change the world, if we must close this gap that United Nations talked about, then we need all hands on deck. I believe Martin Luther King said the ultimate measure of a man is where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. This is a big challenge. We have a huge gap that needs to be filled. Let us not kid ourselves really in thinking it's only men, because there are also some women that still believe that it's a man's world and that men should be leaders and kings. I say often that when we ask for a space, we're not saying we want to take something away from anybody. We're simply demanding our natural position from inception, right? There is enough space in the universe, in everything that we do, for all humans to thrive. And so this is why, for me, this is the message the world receives when men stand up to support women. They see that supporting women means that you're not going to lose anything. It teaches fearless. It teaches people watching that we're not threatened. Rather, together, working together with women, all the people working together, that the sky is indeed all of like it is all at our reach. I also say to people, I say, you know, when we raise our voice, so not just about women equality in everything that concerns humanity, that is when people pay attention, because they go, if Mr. This is doing this, if Miss, Mrs., her, she, they, if they are able to do this, then I can also step up and do that. And so when men join in this quest for equality, for equity, there is a very powerful message that we pass. Remember, I did mention that a lot of the times it's not about going to school. It is about watching. It is about listening. It is about seeing. And so it is so very vital, I can't stress it enough, that our men, when we go up on the stage to talk about women equality, that they are standing up there beside us, with us, for us, speaking, you know, doing all that they need to do. And guess what? The same for us. I have 4 boys. I can't just talk about women getting up there without talking about men. My boys, I want to see them be CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. I want the same for them. So when I go out and I hear men talking about things that relates to them, I'm going to raise my hand up. So we women too, we need to also start walking the talk. Do what you are asking of the man to do for you, you know, and by so doing, I truly believe that we create allies, we create friendships, you know, we create unity, you know, and we create spaces for everyone to thrive.
Beautiful. As a boy mom, that was one of the very first things that really fueled my fire to start SupportHER. I would leave out to do the women's networking and the events and everything that we do with the Universal Women's Network. And I would leave my son, usually with my mom, and I used to drive away, pull out of the driveway and go, where are his role models? Where are the men that are championing for women? Because I want him to be that voice for women and to know how important it is. And I just knew that I wanted to make sure that he knew how valued his role is in achieving that equality. So yes, from one boy mom to another, love that message. Pandemi, I would love to hear from you about the role of the Support Her. I know we're coming up to the top of the hour. We've got 3 minutes left, and I really do
Sure.
want to get to
I'll
our
make it
last
quick.
roundtable.
I'll make it quick. So I see as an individual, as a woman, that we are all supported by our fathers, brothers, and husbands for sure. And as you, Monica, mentioned that as mothers, we are also trying our best to get the boys, the sons into the folk of allyship. So there is no second opinion that we are not being ally there. I also see in the professional front that we have the ally from the senior leadership, because they know that as women, we bring a lot of things onto the table, which is valued. So is the case at the bottom in the hierarchy. When you work with your team, the junior team members, as men, appreciate, because they know that we are also as a listening partner for them to show their views across. So the gap for me personally, where I see, is the peers as ally, because they do see us as competitors, very much so that when we celebrate the International Women's Day exclusively, so they look forward to say, what is that's happening so special for you on this day? If we are competing on the level field ground, so why do you need an extra push? That is what is there. So for me, I think, as rightly pointed out, it's more of education that we need to do for this very few percentage of our peers who would then be the allies, and then we all as a human race rule the world.
So important, and I'm really happy that you brought that to the table, because if we are wanting to make progress, we're going to have to make sure that we acknowledge the value, the important critical value that they bring to make that happen. And so that is what we're going to do, declaring June 2nd International Support Her Day, and not waiting till that to happen. I think that we can go out today to our prospective networks and really say, thank you for your support, for supporting me. Let's bring the others up around you, would be a really strong message. We've got a minute left, and that means that we still have the opportunity to do one more roundtable question. And this has to do around leadership. I would really love you all to share, what is one thing that you can really contribute to pushing yourself forward, to achieving success? I want to talk about the positive, that one thing that you can say, you know what, this is a part of my life, and I continue to do it daily. That's going to move us forward in the right direction. What is that for you, Tracy?
You know, life is rigged in our favor, and we get to pull that future into the present, and not look at, okay, what can we do every 50 days for those 300 years, but what does that look like today? Bring the future into today. And no one would judge me if I didn't do Air Canada or climb the Himalayas or sail against able-bodied men. But I know for myself, and a little bit of tough love is for myself, if I live a life of no excuses, I get to live a life of no limits, no excuses, no limits. And so I get to invite everybody, whether you've got the education, whether you've got the lived experience, whether you've got an ear, somebody's willing to listen, that you get to live a life of no excuses and be that powerful voice with the confidence that even though you don't know how, life is rigged in your favor, and you get to be a shoelace leader. You get to be a voice. You get to take that stand that several of us have talked about today.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing, Tracy. No excuses every single day. Nicole.
Yeah, I love it, Tracy. I think something for me that fuels me as a leader is just learning other people's stories. Like, the more I listen and the more inquisitive I am, and the new spaces I put myself in, and just going out and having those experiences, it fuels me creatively. It fuels me as a leader. And it honestly, like to Tracy's point, just gives you that hope that the future elements of it, the future can be now, when you're surrounding yourself with people who want to empower you and make you better and need you sometimes to make them better. So I think it's all those things.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Evangeline.
I say be bold. Be bold in helping other women rise. Keep it real. Somebody talked about, we never really share the challenges that we face. We just want to, like the Facebook, social media, you just put the positive ones. Let's be honest with each other. Remember your actions are so important. And at the same time that you're rising, helping other people, stand up for yourself. My God, I say fight for other women like your life depends on it. For me, that's just what I wake up in the morning and I say to myself, I have to be bold. It is hard for a person of color like me. It is hard for a Black person like me, but don't dwell on that. Life is hard, but I love what Tracy said. Life is rigged in our favor, so think about it and find ways that you can use that rigging, to elevate yourself and to elevate others with you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And Pandemi.
So my take is exploring the new space by volunteering. I think that's what I do it to keep myself passionate on the topic.
Beautiful. In service to others. And I think as leaders, if we have knowledge to share, it's our responsibility to share it. Clearly that helps everybody succeed. I'm going to take one brief little picture here of our panel before we wrap up. I'm going to offer an opportunity. Cheese, everyone. I'm going to offer the opportunity to welcome everybody back to the stage. I just want to say thank you so much to Tracy, to Nicole, to Evangeline, to Pandemi. Thank you for your wisdom, your thoughts, your perspectives, and for sharing authentically on our panels today. Thank you everybody for joining us for our International Women's Day Inspiring Change panels. I am thrilled. It seems like the past 3 hours has been 5 minutes. And so I really hope that you will all share the links, and I want to really make sure that the conversation doesn't stop. I'm very passionate about the celebration piece. Part of our pillar is that we celebrate women every single day, not just International Women's Day. And I know my last newsletter might have got some, kind of sideways looks when I said the truth is that I don't like International Women's Day, because it's not just about one day, it's about every single day, really recognizing the contribution that women make to our society on a whole. So thank you everyone for joining us. I'm going to keep the room open for another probably 10 minutes. If you all want to connect one more time, we'll just keep everybody in the main stage. But anyways, I really please share this with all your male counterparts to learn more about International SupportHER Day, and on June the 2nd, watch Universal Women's Network, share the post, encouragement the conversation to be a part of the solution, and also nominate top companies, nominate the women who inspire all around you. Thank you everyone for joining, and I'm going to say happy International Women's Day. Let's have women drive change.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.